Well, me and my big brother got up this morning nice and early, and I fed him a big breakfast so I could get lots of work out of him. You know, I didn't want him sitting down on me. And we got out here this morning and cut this big old tree down, and he was standing out here looking at it, and he said, see that dead tree right there? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm gonna make it fall on that side of that tree. And buddy, that right there is where she went, right across there. I just kind of moved all my rocks out of the way where it wouldn't just smash them into pulp. And of course, when it hit the ground, all the dead limbs, as it was a dead tree, just shattered and blew up off of it. I just couldn't leave those limbs over there on my neighbor's property. Even though he has a couple of dead trees, those were my limbs, so I cleaned them up. And we're on a dead end road back here, so I just piled them all right there and took my little propane torch sitting right there and lit them up. And my wife was inside, and she said she could see the fire plumb inside the cabin. It was so high. And I just raked up the road here a little bit because there was a ton of stuff, just little stuff like this where you can see it's all the leaves and little limbs that were left on the road are right there burning. And that stump right there is 33 inches across the top of it. That's the third tree we've cut down up here that was over 30 inches. The third one. And I think these two trees, one here and one where that dirt pile is right there, they were real close to 20. But we ended up with, what was it, 5 logs. And that one has a little bit of rot in the end of it. It's maybe a foot deep right there. And I think this is going to be some gorgeous wood with all these knots and those stuff like that on it. And we're all these, and the heck, I bet the first limb on this thing was maybe 12, 14 foot off the ground. But man, we sure tore the dirt up pulling these in here. That little Jeep of mine over there, it's a 4-cylinder engine, manual transmission, 4-wheel drive. And I put that little dude in 4-wheel drive, low range, and my brother, he hooked the logs up and I pulled them and got them over here. And it was interesting with no power steering doing that. And it did a really good job for just a little old 4-cylinder. It did a really good job. And my brother, he had to use his, got a Jeep Rubicon. It's a newer one. And that one right there has a limb sticking down, kind of like a plow. And that little Jeep of mine just didn't have enough butt in it, enough weight on it to pull it. And so he used his Jeep Rubicon and pulled that one for me. And we got all the limbs over here close to the wood pile. And next time I come down, I'm going to get out here and build me a nice little fire and start cutting this up and stacking it on my wood pile right here and get it all stacked up. And that way I don't have to carry it so far. But this is a big limb. You see how it was sticking down like a plow point down there, and my little Jeep just couldn't get enough guts behind it. But these are, just to give you an idea, these are pretty big logs or tree limbs. But now I can just, like I said, come over here and I can cut this up, stack it up. And then there's this one over here. I think this one's maybe even bigger. And heck, there's enough wood on that, well, you're gonna call it 2 limbs, however you wanna call it, but there's enough wood right there to heat a cabin, for my cabin anyways, for a week. It's a pretty good sized dude, you know, for the top of the tree. But that was a beautiful white oak, and I hated like the devil to cut it down, but we had to. And I'm gonna take, next time I come up, I don't know if next time, but maybe the time after that when I come up, I'm gonna bring my big trailer up here and try to load up a couple of those logs. Every time I come up in my pickup, I'm gonna bring my trailer and try to take 2 of them home, maybe 3 of them home at a time. Now that I know that I can use my backhoe and my manual winch and load them. I loaded up 3 of them, 1 pine and 2 red oaks last time I was down here. And I'm gonna start, like I said, every time I bring my truck up, I'm gonna bring my trailer and start taking me a couple of those dudes home. And we got that cut up, and after we got that cut up, we got over here, I had another tree. It was on my neighbor's property, and it's been dead for, I guess, 2 years now. And it was leaning a little bit towards my cabin, and my brother made the face cut on it, and he started cutting into the back, and it set down on his saw blade and is leaning right at my air conditioner, my mini split right there. So we drove a couple of wedges into it, and then we got a rope and got it about, I don't know, probably right at 20 foot up off the ground, and took it over onto the neighbor's property and hooked it on, put a come along on it. And that tree was so bad that I was able to come along it over. And then after I got it over, it hung up in a tree, and my brother just touched it 2 or 3 times with his chainsaw, and it just come right on off. But my neighbor did try to push it over with his bulldozer, but it just wasn't quite dead enough. But he heats his home 99% wood. So I'm gonna make sure he knows it's on the ground because he'll be cutting up wood. But that was I don't have my tape measure with me, but is that about 714, you know, it's about 18 inches across, something like that. That's it's got a lot of good wood in it, and it's pre-season standing deadwood. But I hear him come back home, and I'm gonna go over there and tell him it's on the ground, so if he needs to cut it up, he can for heat. But yeah, he got out here this morning and got those cut down, got all that wood moved, and all that kind of neat stuff. We sat out here till, I don't know, 9:30 last night. Had us a nice little campfire, me and my wife and my brother and sister-in-law. And my wife got us some new chairs there. And but yeah, it's been a real pretty day. It's been a gorgeous day, and we got a lot of work done and had a good time doing it, and got to spend some time with my brother. That's always a good thing. One of my wife's cousins was up here and spent a weekend with us, and as a thank you, she sent this beautiful little wind chime to my wife. But guys, well, I sure appreciate you checking in with me, and you guys have a good day. I'm gonna go down there and do a little raking and try to keep this thing burning and get all this wood burned up, and you take care, and thank you a bunch.